Dubai is a city engineered to project limitless freedom. Yet for the women, born into its highest royal echelon, the neon skyline is merely the perimeter of a gilded cage. Behind the impenetrable gates of a $500 million architectural fortress lies a world of unfathomable wealth, relentless surveillance, and absolute control. Today, we are exposing the terrifying reality of Dubai's royal dynasty. From high-profile escapes and record-breaking divorce settlements to a princess who vanished into thin air. This is the dark, untold architecture of Middle Eastern royal wealth. Queen Rania Al Abdullah. To truly comprehend the terrifying reality of the Al Maktoum daughters, you must first understand what Middle Eastern royal power looks like when a woman is actually allowed to wield it. Look roughly 1,000 miles west of the glittering Dubai skyline to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Here, Queen Rania has masterfully engineered a blueprint for modern royal survival, demonstrating what happens when limitless resources meet unrestricted autonomy. She is not a prisoner hidden behind high walls. She is a global institution. Born in Kuwait to a Palestinian medical family, Rania al-Yassin did not inherit her royal title through blood. She married into it, and from the exact moment she became the Queen of Jordan, she realized that hypervisibility was her absolute greatest armor. While the wives and daughters of Gulf billionaires are routinely sequestered behind opaque public relations machines and heavily armed security details, Queen Rania stepped directly into the blinding glare of the international spotlight. She transformed herself into one of the most powerful diplomatic forces in the Arab world, utilizing her platform to advocate for education, cross-cultural dialogue, and global refugee crises. Analysts believe her profound influence generates hundreds of millions of dollars in philanthropic funding, international aid, and global goodwill for the Jordanian state. She recognized early on that in the 21st century, a royal title without a public platform is just a gilded cage wrapped in velvet. Therefore, she built a staggering digital empire. With tens of millions of followers across social media platforms, she controls her own narrative with terrifying, corporate-level precision. She sits on the elite boards of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations Foundation, seamlessly navigating the highest echelons of global power. Furthermore, she utilizes high-end fashion as a form of non-verbal diplomacy. By wearing perfectly tailored couture from Dior and Givenchy, she communicates a fierce modernity to Western audiences, while masterfully blending traditional silhouettes to maintain profound respect across the Middle East. Queen Rania is the ultimate contrast to the royal women of Dubai. She proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that when an Arab royal woman is granted autonomy, she does not diminish the monarchy. She single-handedly elevates it on the world stage. Her personal wealth is vast, her palaces are undeniably stunning, but her most valuable asset by far is her absolute, unquestioned freedom to walk out the front door, board a private jet, and speak her mind on global television networks like CNN and the BBC. For the women trapped in the neighboring Gulf states, this level of independence is not just an unattainable fantasy, it is a severe crime, frequently punishable by enforced disappearance. Sheikha Mahra. But even within the heavily guarded, rigorously monitored borders of the United Arab Emirates, the younger generation of royals is beginning to test the tensile strength of their golden cages. Enter Sheikha Mahra bint Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the daughter of Dubai's billionaire ruler. If Queen Rania represents diplomatic perfection and traditional grace, Sheikha Mahra represents the fierce, unapologetic millennial rebellion. Mahra was born to a Greek mother, Zoe Grigorakos, and this dual international heritage naturally afforded her a fraction more leniency and exposure than her fully Emirati half-sisters. She grew up engaging in equestrian sports, attending high-profile fashion events, and building a massive following online. But absolutely nobody expected her to weaponize that slight, carefully monitored privilege in the explosive manner she did in the summer of 2024. In the highly traditional, ultra-conservative world of Gulf royalty, marital breakdown is handled behind closed mahogany doors. It is whispered about in private quarters, ruthlessly negotiated by armies of elite lawyers, and buried under mountains of ironclad non-disclosure agreements. Sheikha Mahra, however, decided to burn the royal playbook entirely to the ground. In July 2024, mere months after the birth of her daughter, She logged onto Instagram and executed a digital assassination of her marriage to Sheikha Mahra. Addressing her husband publicly for her millions of followers to see, she wrote, "Dear husband, as you are occupied with other companions, I hereby declare our divorce. I divorce you, I divorce you, and I divorce you. Take care. Your ex-wife." By directly invoking the ancient Islamic practice of triple talaq, a highly controversial method customarily reserved exclusively for men to instantly divorce their wives, she sent an absolute unmitigated shockwave through the entire Arab world. It was a staggering display of public defiance against patriarchal norms, gathering over 500,000 likes in a matter of days and turning her into an overnight icon of female empowerment. But Mahra didn't just stop at a viral social media post. She possessed the strategic brilliance to weaponize her public heartbreak into a hyper-lucrative commercial venture. By September 2024, she shocked the market again by launching her own luxury fragrance brand, Mahra M1. The debut perfume? It was brazenly, unapologetically named Divorce. Packaged in a sleek, heavy obsidian black bottle adorned with striking gold lettering, the promotional campaign completely abandoned the typical soft floral aesthetics of Middle Eastern perfumery. Instead, it featured dark, highly cinematic imagery of Black Panthers, shattered glass, and black rose petals. With notes of zesty bergamot, sensual jasmine, and earthy patchouli, it was marketed not just as a scent, but as the bottled essence of independence and new beginnings. She took a profound cultural taboo and monetized it into a highly coveted luxury commodity, with fans flooding her comments to say the perfume smelled like freedom. The fragrance sold out almost instantly, priced at a premium, proving to the world that outrage and empowerment are phenomenal, unstoppable marketing tools. Yet, seasoned geopolitical observers note a chilling, highly calculated caveat to Mahra's highly public rebellion. She is permitted to act out strictly because she remains her father's favored, golden child. Her rebellion is tolerated because it is personal, not political. It does not threaten the state apparatus, the royal line of succession, or the core multi-billion-dollar financial architecture of Dubai. She is allowed to sell luxury perfume. She is absolutely not allowed to challenge the throne. As long as she plays within the invisible, heavily policed boundaries set by her father, she can enjoy her vast, limitless wealth and her global celebrity status. Princess Haya bint Hussein. But for the women who dare to genuinely cross the ruler of Dubai, the consequences are catastrophic, and the escape routes require the logistics of a military operation. To understand the true, blood-chilling terror of crossing Sheikh Mohammed, we must examine the woman who successfully broke out of the fortress at a financial and psychological cost that permanently shattered British legal history. Princess Haya bint Hussein, the half-sister of the King of Jordan, was the Sheikh's sixth and most highly visible wife. Educated at Oxford University and a former Olympic equestrian who proudly represented Jordan at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, she was the sophisticated, modern, Western-facing image of Dubai's ruling family. To the untrained eye of the global public, she had absolutely everything: unlimited, unchecked access to a multi-billion-dollar sovereign fortune, a fleet of private Boeing 747 aircraft, and palatial, sprawling estates located across the globe. But behind the diamond-encrusted curtain of her royal existence, a psychological nightmare of unimaginable proportions was unfolding. Princess Haya eventually discovered the horrifying, deeply suppressed truth about what her husband had done to his own adult daughters who had previously attempted to flee. When she began asking dangerous questions about their whereabouts, the atmosphere inside the palace turned lethal. She allegedly found a loaded gun left on her bed with the safety off. She began receiving anonymous, terrifying notes threatening her life and warning her that her days were numbered. Realizing that her immense, limitless wealth could not protect her from the absolute unchecked power of her husband, she meticulously orchestrated a terrifying high-stakes escape. In 2019, Haya fled to London with her two young children, sparking one of the most vicious, expensive, and globally scrutinized legal battles in the entire history of the British High Court. What followed was a complete, systematic unmasking of the Dubai royal family's darkest secrets. During the grueling multi-year proceedings, The court uncovered that Sheikh Mohammed had authorized a relentless, terrifying campaign of intimidation against his fleeing wife. The court heard bombshell evidence that he had utilized Pegasus military-grade spyware, an incredibly sophisticated, zero-click exploit software exclusively licensed to sovereign nation-states for the purpose of tracking international terrorists, to hack the phones of Princess Haya, her personal assistants, and her elite team of British lawyers. The spyware granted his operatives complete, undetected access to her microphone, camera, passwords, and private messages. The financial climax of this brutal war came in late 2021, when a British judge ordered Sheikh Mohammed to pay an astonishing $730 million in a comprehensive divorce and custody settlement. It remains one of the largest, most staggering settlements in British legal history. The itemized breakdown of this payout offers a dizzying, surreal glimpse into the incomprehensible lifestyle of Gulf royalty. The judge mandated an upfront, immediate cash payment of $333 million within 3 months. The settlement included $6.7 million a year strictly allocated for family holidays, millions in compensation for a massive fleet of elite racehorses, and restitution for a fortune in missing haute couture clothing and investment-grade jewelry. To illustrate the sheer scale of the wealth involved, the court heard that at one point during the marriage, the sheikh had spent a staggering $2.6 million in a single summer just purchasing strawberries for his sprawling English country estate. But the absolute most chilling aspect of the historic $730 million settlement was the security budget. The British court ordered an ironclad multi-million-dollar annual fund strictly designed to keep Princess Haya and her young children alive. The judge explicitly stated, absolutely uniquely, that the primary, overriding threat to the family's life was not international terrorists, kidnappers, or outside forces, but Sheikh Mohammed himself. Princess Haya successfully bought her physical freedom, but she paid for it with a lifetime of perpetual, suffocating paranoia. She now lives in a highly fortified, heavily guarded mansion in the United Kingdom, constantly surrounded by armed private security contractors, reinforced with bulletproof glass, and living with the terrifying knowledge that the man she escaped commands the financial and intelligence resources of an entire nation. To comprehend why escaping Dubai requires international logistics, military-grade cybersecurity, and hundreds of millions of dollars in liquid capital, one must closely examine the physical environment these women are desperately trying to flee, and the brutal economics that sustain it. The absolute epicenter of this control is the Zabeel Palace compound. Valued by elite real estate and security analysts at an estimated $500 million to $900 million, this sprawling complex is the official, heavily fortified residence of the ruling Al Maktoum family. From the outside, looking in from the modern metropolis of Dubai, Zabeel Palace is a breathtaking monument to Arabian grandeur and limitless wealth. Situated precisely in the heart of the city, the massive compound is framed by towering geometric arches, pristine gold leaf domes, and lush, artificially sustained emerald green gardens where exotic peacocks roam freely under the scorching desert sun. It flawlessly projects an image of serene, untouchable majesty. But beneath the manicured lawns and the glittering facades lies a terrifyingly efficient, heavily militarized security apparatus. Zabeel Palace is not merely a home for a billionaire, it is a fortress explicitly engineered for absolute 360-degree surveillance. The vast perimeter is constantly monitored by an army of highly trained private military contractors, many drawn directly from elite international special forces units. The physical infrastructure of the compound includes advanced biometric access points, heavily reinforced blast-proof walls designed to withstand military-grade explosives, and subterranean command centers capable of operating completely independently off the city's power grid. Every single entrance and exit is logged in real time. Every phone call made from within the walls is allegedly monitored and recorded. The royal women residing within these opulent walls do not have the basic luxury of casual, spontaneous movement. They cannot simply hail a luxury car, go shopping at the Dubai Mall, or book a first-class flight to Paris without express, heavily documented permission from the ruler's central office. Their passports are routinely confiscated and locked in impenetrable government safes. Their personal bodyguards essentially double as their wardens, tasked with reporting their every movement, interaction, and conversation back to the central state intelligence apparatus. It is a suffocating, maddening paradox. These women sleep on bespoke silk sheets imported from Italy and walk on immaculate marble cut from the finest European quarries, yet they possess significantly less personal liberty than the lowest-paid migrant worker sweeping the city streets. This economic structure makes escaping nearly impossible. When a royal woman is born into this system, she is immediately given an allowance that would utterly dwarf the GDP of a small island nation. She is assigned an entourage of personal maids, private drivers, high-end shoppers, and security details. If she wishes to buy a multi-million-dollar diamond necklace, the funds are cleared instantly. But this unimaginable wealth comes with a brutal, unspoken contract. The money is a direct substitute for human autonomy. The women are actively encouraged to spend, to consume, and to project an image of hyper-luxury that heavily benefits the global tourism and business sectors of Dubai. However, the exact moment they attempt to convert that financial power into actual personal independence, the system ruthlessly shuts down. The $500 million Zabeel Palace is just the terrifying physical manifestation of a financial system designed to ensure that the women of Dubai can buy absolutely anything in the world, except a ticket out. Sheikha Latifa bint Mohammed Al Maktoum. Which brings us to the most tragic, haunting, and terrifying chapter in the entire modern history of the Al Maktoum dynasty. If Princess Haya is the resourceful woman who got away, and Sheikha Mahra is the woman who learned to bend the rules of the cage, Sheikha Latifa bint Mohammed Al Maktoum is the woman who was violently dragged back into the dark. Latifah, the daughter of the Sheikh, spent the vast majority of her life suffocating within the golden, heavily monitored walls of the Zabeel compound. She had witnessed firsthand the brutal, internationally condemned recapture of her older sister Sheikha Shamsa, who was snatched off the streets of Cambridge, England in 2000, allegedly drugged, flown back to Dubai on a private jet, and never seen in public again. Knowing the horrific life-or-death stakes, Latifah spent 7 agonizing years meticulously planning her own maritime escape. She quietly saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, covertly enlisted the help of Hervé Joubert, a former French intelligence officer, and trained her body relentlessly in martial arts and deep-water diving with her close friend, a Finnish fitness instructor named Tiina Jauhiainen. In late February 2018, Latifah finally executed her desperate plan. She successfully evaded her royal handlers, drove across the border into Oman, and boarded a small US-registered civilian yacht named the Nostromo. For several agonizing, tension-filled days, the yacht sailed across the vast expanse of the Arabian Sea, inching closer to the coast of India, where Latifah desperately planned to claim political asylum and eventually fly to the United States. Knowing the immense danger she was in, she recorded a harrowing, deeply unsettling 40-minute video detailing years of alleged torture, solitary confinement, and severe medical abuse at the hands of her father. She stared directly into the camera and stated, "If you are watching this video, it's not such a good thing. Either I'm dead or I'm in a very, very, very bad situation." Her absolute worst nightmare violently materialized on the pitch-black night of March 4, 2018. Just 50 miles off the coast of Goa, the Nostromo was suddenly surrounded. In a terrifying, unprecedented display of geopolitical power and military coordination, Indian Coast Guard vessels and heavily armed Emirati warships cornered the small civilian yacht. Helicopters roared overhead as heavily armed Indian Marcos Special Forces commandos boarded the ship under the chaotic cover of deafening stun grenades and blinding smoke bombs. The civilian crew was brutally beaten and handcuffed to the deck. According to chilling eyewitness accounts from those on board, Latifah clung desperately to the railings of the yacht, screaming at the top of her lungs that she was seeking political asylum and begging the Indian military forces not to send her back to her father. "Shoot me here! Don't take me back!" she reportedly cried out into the night. Her desperate pleas were completely ignored. Emirati Special Forces commandos forcefully dragged the screaming, terrified princess onto a military helicopter. She vanished into the night air. For 3 long years, Latifah was essentially a ghost, swallowed whole by the Dubai security apparatus. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights repeatedly, publicly demanded concrete proof of life from the United Arab Emirates. Secretly recorded videos, filmed on a smuggled mobile phone from inside a bathroom and broadcasted by international media outlets, showed Latifah cowering in a locked, heavily guarded villa. She revealed that the windows were permanently barred shut, she had no access to medical care, and she was completely surrounded by hostile police forces. She described herself as a hostage, unsure if she would ever see the sun again. Then, the multi-million-dollar state PR machine aggressively activated. In late 2021, strategically timed, highly curated photos began appearing on social media, showing Latifah at public malls in Dubai, on a supervised vacation in Spain, and in Iceland. In 2022, the UN issued a brief, highly controversial statement saying they had met with her in Paris and that she merely wished for respect for her privacy. The International Free Latifah campaign eventually disbanded, stating their mission to secure her safety was somehow accomplished. But veteran human rights analysts and intelligence experts paint a far more sinister, deeply tragic picture of her current reality. Latifah has never once given an independent, unscripted interview to the global press. Her public appearances are tightly controlled, heavily curated by state media operatives, and completely, utterly devoid of the defiant fire that defined her 2018 escape video. In late 2024, state media proudly showcased Sheikha Latifa delivering a keynote address at the Global Women's Forum in Dubai. Ironically, her heavily scripted speech called for correcting outdated stereotypes about Arab women and celebrating their supposed freedom and balance. To the uninformed international viewer, it looked like a triumphant, empowering return to royal duties. But to those who intimately know the dark history of the Zabeel Palace, the image of the captured princess standing at a podium, reading a state-sanctioned script about female empowerment, is the ultimate terrifying display of psychological domination. She is a woman whose net worth is theoretically tied to a multi-billion-dollar sovereign empire, yet she cannot dictate the basic terms of her own existence. Her compliance has been systematically engineered into her. The $500 million fortress did not just hold her physical body, it eventually, inevitably broke her spirit. In Dubai, the neon skyline constantly reaches for the heavens, a glittering, awe-inspiring testament to ambition, rapid progress, and unlimited capital. But the foundations of this desert empire are deeply rooted in the absolute, unyielding subjugation of the women who inhabit its palaces. Sheikha Latifa is alive, she is undeniably wealthy, and she is entirely, irreversibly owned. From the diplomatic autonomy of Queen Rania to the chilling, silent captivity of Sheikha Latifa, these women reveal the true cost of Middle Eastern royalty. Which of these royal survival stories shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to Her Status for more deep dives into the dark side of unimaginable wealth.